thinking.
I know all day it's been like that.
It's been like slow. So we are finally live. Hey, Charlene, how are you?
Just great. Hey, Haley, how are you?
I'm doing good. If you guys are on the live, give us a hashtag live. If you're on the replay, give us a hashtag replay and tell us how many feet of snow you've got on the ground. How much snow do you have on the ground tonight? Oh my gosh. I felt like I was freezing my tail off tonight walking.
I know. If your car is covered, that is something to share about. Like, seriously, I have got clients sending me pictures and they're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work on my business today. I'm like, that's the only way to do it. Stay home and don't try to go out anywhere.
And hey, Meg, good to see you. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit tonight about different social media platforms and the insanity that is Clubhouse right now.
Yes. It's great. I mean, it's disrupting. It's where everyone's eyeballs are. You know, obviously the exclusivity about inviting and just kind of having that, you know, forever connection is brilliant on a platform that 100% is just audio, nothing else to engage. It's just audio.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, to me, because we were messaging back and forth on Facebook to be able to try to figure out something on Clubhouse.
Yep. And I think that's why it doesn't matter what platform. They're all connected. You just have to kind of know how to use them and know when to pull those levers and not be so like, this is the only platform, because they're all connected.
Yeah, it's one big World Wide Web. And Meg asked, wait, it's snowing up your way? No, it's not snowing up here, but it's snowing, you know, all over the rest of the country.
It is. It really is.
But that's a good point about things being connected. And, you know, what I think is particularly interesting is kind of at a meta level, because I'm an observer. Fundamentally, I mean, that's kind of what I do in my business is I observe behaviors. You know, whether it's behaviors of people on a website or how people are behaving towards an ad, or, you know, it's all about the observation of the behaviors and the algorithms.
Right.
And to me, it's just kind of fascinating to see everybody flipping their minds over Clubhouse. And yes, I have 3 invites. And I posted it on my personal page. But, you know, it's just interesting to me because it's interesting to see how it mirrors other platforms that have come and gone, and the goods, the bads, the ugly, you know, and talking about, you know, group size.
Right. Well, you know, like last night we had our Clubhouse event, and one of the comments that was made was, you know, I don't look for big, large groups anymore. And I said, so what do you look for? And she said, you know, 15, 25, 100, because she was getting lost in the connection. And the irony is that, you know, because it's an audio platform, you're connected literally by discussion and talking and chatting. And so maybe it's in the reverse, this platform, and really the irony of it is that people crave connection, and you can't still do that whether you're networking in a room of 1,000 people. You can't reach all 1,000 people, but you can reach 5, maybe 7, and create those intentional relationships.
Yeah, and that to me is kind of the interesting thing, because as you know, there's 72,000 members in Women's Entrepreneur Network.
Yep, woohoo! Hit that
and it's
goal.
Exciting, right? And people assume that for me, more is better. You know, numbers. And okay, yes, I like big numbers and I can't lie, but, you know, there's something to be said for one-on-one interaction or one to a couple interaction.
Yep. Not only that, Haley, I think it's the intent, right? So when we admin the group, you know, at a time there's 35,000, you know, on the platform at that time. Now, it does not mean, you know, all 35,000 will get the views, because depending if it's a Clubhouse remark or if it's an Instagram, you know, it throttles down. So when people are like, I only got 135 views, I'm like, that's the maximum capacity at that time, because of the way the algorithm is and the way the group's size is. So you're absolutely right. Like, quality is sometimes precedent over the quantity.
Yeah. And sometimes I think that there's this idea that more is always more.
I think that's what robs people of being present and appreciating and nurturing what they have, right? Businesses can't do
Yeah.
150 clients a month. It's just not realistic unless you have a SaaS platform, unless you have the bandwidth to staff that. I had a client today say, Char, we grew so fast that we spend more money in overhead than we do revenue because just to manage it.
Amen. Yeah.
So it costs, right? There's a cost. Haley, you have a cost. I have a cost. We have
Absolutely.
a hard cost just in managing what we have.
Yeah. No, it's a huge difference in the cost.
It really is.
And, and the thing too that people sometimes forget is large numbers doesn't always yield better conversion.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would dare say that large numbers a lot of times actually worsens our conversions. So I'm happy to sit on Clubhouse and talk to 3 people.
Yeah.
Or
Totally.
I'm happy to do my mastermind in very small groups because it allows me to really build deep connections with people. It's kind of funny how that depth of connection wins out almost every day over 72,000.
But not only that, right? It's also the ask, right? You can't really ask when you don't know your audience.
Oh, sure.
Like that's kind of lost in that.
Right. I mean, I could sit here and tell you guys all day long, hey, give me all your websites. But that wouldn't make any sense. I mean, you just gave me the look of like, yeah, like that's going to work, right?
Well, and that's kind of the obsession a lot of times. People who've just started out or, people who are hitting some success and some strides, they get so obsessed with the more that when they get there and they arrive at this more destination, they're like, oh, this isn't always what I want. They actually want more time freedom. They actually want more money. And then they go, okay, how do we charge a higher ticket? How do we build better systems? How do we, focus on our target? And then it kind of trims the fat and the fluff goes away. And then all of a sudden they've pivoted again, which is you want quality over quantity.
Funny how that works. I worked with people at all stages of their businesses, whether they're, tiny businesses on up. And yeah, it ends up being that quality over quantity.
Yep. And it just depends. Like, I consider every business always startup. I don't care if you've been in business for 15 years or 20 years, you're always in startup because you have to make adjustments along the way. It's just not true to stick to one specific strategy the entire time. Hey, this is called Real Talk, people. Get in line. If you want to hear the masses, tell you the truth, not the fluff, not the, hey, you can have 100,000 clients. You're like, that ain't even working. No one's even converting that. Let's just be real.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's kind of the interesting thing is that constant adaptation. To me, that was maybe one of the more like profound realizations in business school. Things are either getting better or they're getting worse, but there is absolutely no status quo.
Nope. And I think that's what robs sometimes people who go into the higher level of education and they want to really understand like an MBA level, right? Even organizational behavior. It really robs you of the tangibles. Like here's the book, but here's experience. And experience a lot of times will trump that. I consider that structure that in your mind, education will give you, because experience tells you, what, you're not going to have a P&L. You're not going to have a pro forma when you're starting off your first year in business. Sometimes it's just get a sale.
Sometimes it's just an L. Right?
It's not even an L, Haley. It's the simple fact that they're like, I want that. And you're telling them, right, when you're website building, you're like, you don't need 25 pages. You don't need a robust website to spend all that money on.
No, you do not need to come in and spend tons and tons and tons of money on a beginner website. Your first website in your business should almost never be like this super expensive thing. Now, I mean, it depends on the exact business, but I would say like 99.9% should not be this like Mongo development process, because it's going to all change in 6 months.
Last night in the Clubhouse group, one of the gals spoke up and she's like, I'm trying to finish my website. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, of course I know someone who can help you. And they're like, no, I really want to spend some time doing it. I said, oh, so how much time have you spent? Like 40 hours. I'm like, oh, so when are you going to get to the sales? She's like, I can't focus on the sales. I've got to get the website. I said, my biggest advice to you is stop doing what you're doing, get a sale, and then come back to it. Then you'll know what you're selling.
Thank you. Your biggest advice to her is to stop focusing on the blankety blank website and get a sale, figure out what the hell you're selling, and then come back to it.
I mean, mind blowing, right? She's like, I've got all these pages. And I said, so are you creating a membership site? What kind of fun? She's like, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to build. I'm like, so you're going to spend 100 hours and still not have what you want? And you're going to come back and go, okay, now I'm ready for a sale. I'm like, backwards, 100%.
What? What do you mean I don't have to build my funnel first and write a book and start a podcast?
I know.
You're going to have to breathe here in a second, Charlene, because you're laughing so hard.
I can't laugh and breathe and do all that at the same time. Just like when these entrepreneurs are like, I got to do that. I'm like, how do you do all that? Just get a sale. See if someone even likes your product.
That's crazy talk.
Hey, we have some crazy
and
talk
build a
in the
Facebook
mastermind.
group and stand on my head and click my heels. And I'm going to post 23 times a day on social media.
I just, you know, Haley, at the end of the day, business doesn't have to be this complicated. Building websites doesn't have to be this complicated. Making money doesn't have to be this complicated.
No, we're in the process of, doing some websites for people. And I'm like, why do we have 6 different websites for one business? Or, like all of these different like landing pages and pieces and parts and hoopla. And I'm like, are they all separate nonprofits? Is there a reason for them? I mean, it's a great way for me to make more money as a website developer. Bring it on. I'm happy to quote you on individual websites and branding and everything. I see dollar signs when I see that happen.
Well, and you try to tell them otherwise, and they're just hell bent on it, right? We had a client literally onboarded today. They spent $100,000 on their rebrand, which was totally necessary. They were 20 years in business, totally necessary. And the reason why he onboarded with us was like, Char, so how do I make sales with this? And I'm like, that should have been the question before the rebrand, because you just invested this amount of money in a new website, in 23 trucks that had to get stripped, and new printing of sweaters and jackets. And he's like, well, that's why I'm hiring you, so you can help us with the sales. And I'm like, why do they do this backwards?
Oh, that is so backwards. I mean, because the branding is lovely.
It is.
It is so nice to have that pretty logo and that great car wrap and the pretty shirt. I just hit a nerve again.
Well, Haley, it's not only the hitting the nerve, but you just feel right for this person, because they could have avoided that. We talked to someone today from our clubhouse. She's like, Char, she messaged, she's like, I got to talk to you. She spent $50,000 on publishing a book, and all the books are sitting in her garage.
Right.
And she said, Char, I've got a problem. I'm like, what? She goes, I didn't know that I was supposed to have a sales plan to becoming an author and having all these books. And I'm like, yep, that's usually what has to happen. But 9 out of 10 times, these publishing companies will tell you, just publish the book and hope something happens.
So what's your feeling about these online course creation?
It evolves. You cannot think that your content right now is relevant in 3 months. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not evolving and adapting to the landscape of marketing and your customer, you're gonna try and sell them an old content that doesn't relate, and then it's like you've got to always update. So my gut feeling is build it on the principles of that specific vertical or industry, because that is timeless.
Well, absolutely. But the other thing I see people do is they come online and the first thing they do is build a course. It's like the first thing they do is build a book, right? And then they don't have a plan to sell it. And they've never done the first sale online or gotten the first customer online. And it's like, oh. Because sometimes the messaging that works offline doesn't work online.
No, but let's take BNI, right? You go every week religiously. You've got, the 50 business owners religiously you see. That consistency is going to yield you a sale, instead of where these guys think, oh, I'm just going to throw an ad up. Things are going to happen. People are going to buy my product. And I'm like, that is not the strategy online. Totally different strategy.
Oh, yeah. No, and I see it a lot. It's a very, very different world. And this is where the strategy is important versus just doing the Facebook ads. And I refer to it as the Facebook ads because that's always what I hear it referred to as when I have somebody who's been doing business offline and then suddenly they want to do lead generation online and they're like, oh, well, let's just do Facebook ads. I heard they're great.
Nope. Doesn't work. And then they spend thousands of dollars on the back end and then they wonder why, they're paying so much. And I'm like, because you have nothing first built, then put the ads to it so that when your traffic comes in, they know what you're selling.
Yeah.
It's painful. It is so painful. And Haley, I don't know if this is like typical in the space that you're in, because you and I, kind of, we do overlap, but we're not in the convincing business. And I know that you're not in the convincing business.
If I have to convince you, we're not doing business.
No.
And Andrea says, nope, not one sale. Yeah. Go figure.
No. And my heart breaks for them, because when they're convincing, that means they're pushing the sale. When they're convincing, they don't really trust their product or their service. And when they're convincing, they're not allowing that organic depth to be grown, like to really have that foundation in their business.
Yeah, but that's, one of the interesting things I see with like most businesses is that it's very different from like online coaching. When I see coaching, most coaching requires a certain level of convincing.
Right. But that means that the marketing front end isn't clear if you have to convince, right? Like there was this gal the other day, she said, I'm building all of these things. She spent tons of money. I mean, I'm shocked.
Yeah. And Andrea, you never knew you had to be the marketer. Oh yeah. That's what people don't tell you is, oh, I'm going to do the course or I'm going to do the book. And they don't realize how much effort is involved in the sale.
And how much more clear you have to be, right? Just like this gal, she's like, okay, Charlene, I'm a coach. I'm doing all these things. And, I'm attracting people at the end of the call who say, oh, I don't have the money. And she's like, I just waste hours and hours. And I said, it's because you're not clear on your messaging on the front end of your marketing.
Yeah. When he says that's the hardest part for me. Yeah. I mean, you've got to be super clear on what you're going to get. And it's not, what you're going to get is not, we're going to spend 6 hours together.
Right.
What you're going to get is a roadmap, or what you're going to get is this benefit. And a benefit is not, you spent time with me.
Nope. And that's usually what happens when the coach isn't clear on what they're doing. That's the reason why the client gets that kind of result, is because the coach wasn't clear in the first place. And that coach / mentor position is so critical. If you're not clear yourself, you can't give from an empty well. You can't give from something you don't have.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I think that it's important, yeah, that you're meeting a client's need or a want or a desire. And Meg says, I'm still trying to clean up the messaging on the handmade side of things. Yeah, I mean, it's a process.
Yep.
Business is always a process. It's never going to be perfect.
Nope.
Done
But
is
you want
better
to
than perfect.
learn so you can save time, right? And make money. So that's the reason why you get a coach who has that experience, that has that, you know, I call it, I'm not married to your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, oh, you know, why did she get that in 10 minutes when it took me the last 6 months to build out or create a YouTube channel or create my email marketing? And I'm like, because I'm not married to your problem every day. I'm not emotionally tied into it where I get that kind of emotion of, oh no, it needs to be perfect. Like, I just want you to get out there and get a sale. If it doesn't make a sale, then you know it's not working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's always an interesting thing, you know, is trying something new, trying a product or service. And I've seen, you know, especially coaches, they'll go out and they'll build the whole online course or the whole online book, whatever, before they, you know, before they ever try the first sale. And I mean, really, it's easier if you go out and you go get that first sale. And then you figure out what that process and procedure, what, you know, all of the processes and procedures and what the book would be,
Right.
you know, exactly after you've gotten those sales to support it.
Wouldn't that be just a miracle? A sale that drives your marketing plan.
What? That's crazy talk.
I know.
Wait a minute,
And
I
we're
might be
literally
crazy.
giving away free content. Like, we are telling you guys, this is free. Like, people pay us to tell them this. We are telling you this tonight, just out of the goodness of our good old heart and real talk, because this is the formula. Get a sale and then build it on the back end.
So Andrea says, the sad part is the people I want to help are unable to pay. So I'm stuck with creating a niche to land a sale.
There's a lot more in that comment than that comment saying, Haley.
Yeah, we could spend an hour unpacking that.
Mm-hmm. And Andrea, it doesn't have to be this hard. The fact that you have to niche down and get really clear, it's not the niching down, it's the front of your funnel that really needs to get worked, which is clarity in your messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're attracting people who don't want to pay, it has nothing to do with the people you're attracting. It has to do everything with what your messaging is about.
Yeah. I've found that front end messaging is everything.
Yep.
When it gets tweaked, everything else changes. Call it your energy, call it your mojo, call it your mindset, but
Call
that
it your
front end,
crystals.
yeah, I have a few of those.
We don't care what you call it, guys. We just want you to make money. And you should not be ashamed to ask for the sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, women tend to hint around at the sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to help the hard heads. That's my energy. See, there's so much there as well. You can't want it more than somebody else wants it for themselves. Like, I had to be the one to decide I was going to lose 175 pounds. The doctor couldn't do it for me. Bariatric surgery was just part of the tool, but they can't force me to eat right or take my vitamins or any of that. And the same applies with business, right? Or whatever. Alcoholism. You can't make somebody stop drinking or doing drugs. You can't make somebody do something that they don't already desperately want to do for themselves. And I mean, that's part of the secret with sales and business. I mean, that's why you don't have to, Charlene doesn't convince people to buy from her.
Nope. Haley doesn't stand there and wave a sign at the corner, you know, to say, build a website with me. Talk to me about my mastermind. We just kind of say, this is what it is. And this is the results we get. And hey, we're happy to work with those people who are, you know, driven by results and high performers and understand that this is work.
And Leigh Scheidel says, I appreciate the real talk. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, we're trying to be super real and super transparent. And this is like the not sexy stuff that people
Haley, they always think our talk is always the non-sexy. Like we don't have the sugar coating. We
no,
don't
we're
have the
not. But
chocolate
you know
dip
what? It's
strawberries.
so attractive at the end of the day. You can have all the chocolate dip strawberries.
I know. You're gonna have
And
the
the shrimp
pineapple ones.
too.
I'll go to Hawaii and get you pineapple ones.
That'll work. Yeah, the youngs, Haley, who are lost, no moms, that's your problematic. Yeah. Well, and you know what? I gotta say, where there's a will, there's a way.
And sometimes you're in your own way, guys.
Well, and one of the things too that I found, is like, where there's a will, and I mean, I'm not saying that lightly, but we had kids who wanted to go to Europe and whatnot with Girl Scouts who had no money, and we found ways for them to pay for those trips.
Yep. But then guess what? You taught them the most valuable skill is called problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And business owners, if you could take a simple skill like problem solving and use it towards your business on the front end of your marketing, it would save you so much time and money that is wasted on trying to sell what you want. It has nothing to do with us.
It has absolutely nothing to do with what I want.
Nope.
That's really kind of the bummer. Like with my Facebook group, with my business, there's really nothing here that has anything to do whatsoever with what Haley wants the state of the world to be. And can I just throw a temper tantrum about that for a minute?
Go ahead.
I mean, like, seriously, y'all don't care what I want. You're supposed to care what I want because I built all this amazing stuff and it's awesome. And people come in and they have a good time and they don't give a flip about what I want.
Nope. Because it's not about
fair.
that. You know what, Haley? You and I know that. And this is the only reason why we go through the lengths to build the things that we do. Because in the end, really, we are providing an environment for impact on this platform. Has nothing to do. Sales is just a byproduct with these, late night talks and the mastermind calls and the strategy sessions and the when talks. Those are the selling platforms within the platform, but this is an impact that we're creating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Kind of like a tsunami.
That's what my logo is made of. It's actually the Japanese wave tsunami that took out the entire town. And that the true flow of, the power of a wave is the undertone. You never know what's going on underneath. You only can see the massive wave on the front.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Andrea says, this is real. I appreciate this more than you know. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
And Meg says, but that's the life we live. We build because people need us. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
You need people to get the money, then help. That's what people are telling you. That's where fundraising and grants and nonprofits and other sources of funding come in. Where there is a will, there is a way. We had 150,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies go through my garage so girls could go to Europe.
Right.
Among other things.
But Haley, that's not where the solution was found, right? It was found in the willingness to do something that people aren't used to. It's the willingness to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes you have to ask other people for help and ideas.
Yeah.
And all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, when you are in that situation where you really are trying to make a difference, there are so many ways to get grants and other funding sources that are sometimes not the person directly giving you money. And especially, right now, there's so many organizations that are funding women entrepreneurs, women in tech, women in business,
right.
All kinds of opportunities.
But the thing is, you have to be willing to say, I want to make money at what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the hardest part when people start entrepreneurship, in the idea of, I want to serve. And that's where the platform is that we come from is, you have a purpose, but you need to make money at that.
Yeah. Well, and nonprofit doesn't mean you're not making money.
Exactly.
There's more than one way to do it.
There is.
I've known people who make very good money, and it's that not being afraid to serve and not being afraid to ask.
Yep. Two of the same, sides of that sales opportunity is the asking, right? And being able to ask correctly and knowing who to ask and where to ask for help. And then being on the other side to say, this is how I can receive it. This is what I'm going to do for it. These are the services I'm going to provide for it. It's a really easy formula. It's a really easy equation.
Who would have thought?
I don't know. It took us this long. We're like telling people, please just listen to what we're saying. It is not benefiting us at all. This talk tonight is literally to just pour into you.
Yeah, this is here to, help you guys get stuff. My mom just talked me into opening transitional housing tonight, and there's a need in Phoenix. Absolutely. I'm in for it, but wow. Yeah, that's where nonprofits and fundraising and all that kind of stuff are, government organizations, corporations, corporate funding. One of the things that's really surprised me in the nonprofit world that I'm in a bit is how much money is out there. You just have to ask for it.
Yep. Just follow the rules of the grant, write it according to what the grant needs to, and they'll just give you money.
Yeah, that's why March starts the hunts for sponsors. There you go. There you go. Sometimes we ask, and sometimes we find a way.
We do. We always do.
So cool.
So is that a real talk or what, Haley?
That
was
that
like real enough, you think?
I don't know. Was that raw enough for you guys? Yeah. And Leigh Scheidel says, I prefer real and not sugar-coated. Thank you very much. Learning to ask for your price, not discounted. Absolutely. Learning to ask people for money is a beautiful thing.
It's not because you're asking, because you're begging. You're just saying, in exchange of these services, the results I'm going to be giving you is on the same value of I'm asking you for this price.
Sales is
I tell my clients,
the exchange
increase your price.
Oh, absolutely. Most of the time we don't charge enough, me included.
Nope. And the reason why we don't is because it's on us to do that. But at the same time, until our messaging matches that pricing or gives I consider like proof, like, hey, these are the things that will come from it. This is the results I have. These are the things that I've done well. You can't charge more unless you show it. Like, be willing to show what you do. I know.
Haley, getting testimonials and results and videos. Crazy talk.
Yeah, it is.
Amazing, crazy talk. This is awesome. This is so much fun. Yeah, needs-based business. I don't set the price, but I help with what you need. Yeah, there's lots of ways to do things.
And I think people are just asking because they know there should be something more, that intuition, that gut feeling. When you feel that, ladies, and there's something telling you I should be charging more, telling you there should be more in life, trust that.
Funny how that intuition works.
Totally.
I love it. Thank you for joining me tonight. This has been so much fun.
I know we've got like some people who like raw and real, so I guess this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's do raw and real every week.
Yeah, that's right. Every Tuesday, guys, we're doing this.
Raw and real. Let's do it. So how does somebody go out finding you, Charlene?
Tomorrow I'm on my live. So I will be doing that at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Another way is just to DM me. I definitely put in my Calendly links so that you guys can set appointments with me and just do a connect call. this is exactly what you get on the call. It's just raw and real. We try to discover what, your core problem is. And 99.9% of the time is you need more sales. And so we figure out really clearly, really quickly what that looks like, what it needs to be, because there's no time, right? You can't trade your time for money because you're still losing money. It's like, why would you do that to yourself?
Funny how that happens. I love it so
is.
much.
Thank
Thank you for joining me tonight.
On here.
Thank you guys. Have a great night. Take care. And we will talk
Bye-bye.
to you guys soon. Bye.